We are live.
All right, you guys.
We are live on both my channel and Nate's channel on Instagram.
Two channels at once?
So whoever wants to join in can join in. We're going to talk about the top things that we do to stay raw. And we want to do a Q&A at the end of the video. So you guys can collect your questions and we're just going to go ahead.
What's up, guys?
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. We love having you and we absolutely love chatting. One of our favorite things. It's like we get high almost talking to you guys and having this community. We always talk about how awesome it is after.
Yeah, we definitely get a charge of energy for sure.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining in.
All right, you guys. All right. So to start, this talk is basically our top six our top 6 tips on how we stay raw.
So you're gonna start.
All right, here we go.
Your top tip.
So tip number 1 is definitely eating enough, and that's something that people have issues with. If they're coming from your standard American style, or even if they're coming from a cooked vegan style of diet. Or lifestyle, I should say, because should not be a diet, it should be a lifestyle. But not eating enough calories, you end up being, you start to get hungry. You start to feel depleted.
Yeah.
You feel a little tired, a little sluggish. The mitochondria is not really burning a lot. So yeah, if you're not eating enough calories, that is definitely setting you up for a failure.
Yeah, cravings too.
The cravings start to kick in. Yeah, especially, say you eat lunch, you don't have a snack. Maybe you drink a coffee, and then all of a sudden you're home, and your spouse or whatever brought some Little Caesars pizza. And you're famished. You haven't eaten for 6 hours, possibly, if it's 6 o'clock and you ate lunch at 11 or noon. Man, you're setting yourself up for failure. Not carrying fruit with you, and not just not getting in enough calories.
Yeah, that's probably one of my top tips too, is not eating enough.
Man.
So important.
So important.
And then, so the second tip would be to make sure that you're eating on the lower fat range. And I talk about this all the time. Nate lives this lifestyle with me, and the low fat, and this is, someone was asking about weight loss tips. These are all weight loss tips as well. They work for the same thing, because all, weight gain, acne, depression, all that kind of stuff is largely impacted by what we eat and what we're doing to our bodies. So, all of these things can be fixed pretty much for the most part. Like we said, we're not doctors, we're not perfect or anything.
Yeah, right.
But these are great tips to help you get to your health goals. But eating lower fat is very, very important. Some people need to get a little bit more fats in, like if you're really active, if you're doing a lot of labor, and maybe your kids or the elderly do need a little bit more fats too. Yeah. But on average, you want to stick between the 5 and 20% fat range. I find I do best between 8 and 12%.
Yeah.
Some people do better towards 20, and some people do better towards 5. And each day is going to be different. But the reason why you want to do low fat is because if you have too much fat, excess fat in your bloodstream, and keep in mind, every piece of fat that you eat is actually stored as fat immediately in your body. So you don't burn it right away. You burn it later when your glycogen stores run down or whatever. But so when you eat too much fat, it spills over into your bloodstream and into your muscle cells, and actually blocks your cells from insulin opening them and getting the sugar in. So the more fat you eat, the more carbs you're basically limited to eat. So it doesn't necessarily work properly, but that would definitely be my top tip, is to keep it low fat.
Yeah.
And eat enough.
Right, eating enough and keeping it low fat. There's definitely a fine balance there. And even on the raw side of things, it is so extremely easy to go way over your, 15% fat percentage intake of a day. Yeah. Like sometimes, you and I will get a little wild, and we're like, we put in Chronometer, we're like, oh my gosh, 30% fat today, That's intense.
And we feel sluggish and not so vibrant when we're eating that high fat. And the thing is too, with the high fat or low fat, is that if you are not eating over 2,000 calories, 10% of your calories is going to be extremely low. So if you're eating 1,200 calories a day, That's 120 calories from fats, 10%, which is only 13 grams of fat, which is basically nothing.
Yeah.
But if you're eating 2,400 calories a day, that's 240 calories from fat, or almost 30 grams of fat,
Huge.
which is a healthy amount of fat to eat. So the more calories you eat in general, the more fat you can eat in general, and keep it at the 10% range.
Yeah, and of course how active you are.
Yeah, and how active you are.
Yeah.
Definitely. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, for the people who are living kind of a sedentary life, or they have an office job. Yeah, not really focusing on exercise, the higher fat kind of can mess with you,
totally.
sneak in there.
So everyone's going to be slightly different. So you want to play with that, but try to keep it on the lower end.
Yeah. What's up, you guys? Hey.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
We're going to get to your questions soon. We're going to finish up the next 4 tips, and then we're open to questions.
So yeah, tips, our top 6 tips on how to stay raw. Another tip that we've got down here is priorities.
Yes.
So this is a huge one, because I'll have people say like, Nate, how do you do this? I've got kids, I don't have time to prepare, cut up my vegetables and, make a dressing, but at the same time, I hear these same individuals talking about Game of Thrones. So they binge watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. Now, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I know I'm like kind of under the rock, right? But I don't know how long these episodes are. But if they're an hour an episode, that's 2 hours that's spent on watching a TV show when you're saying, I don't have the time to feed my body the right way. So that is kind of like having your priorities, not really in line with your health goals, I would say. So having those priorities is so huge, and making time, no matter how busy we are. If we're thinking about something, we're going to make it happen. So if we're thinking about, what do I want to have for my snack? Okay, do I have my snack packed? Yes. Do I have my breakfast dialed in? Yes, I just ate my breakfast. Okay, lunch. Oh, I need to make a dressing real quick. Put it in the jar. 3 to 4 minutes. Like literally, it only takes 3 to 4 minutes to make a nice dressing.
You made our dinner salad in like 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's so fast. It's so fast. Especially after you do it, what you like to have, and you only need a certain few ingredients, and then, you're also thinking ahead for dinner. Now, these are kind of things that we do normally in everyday life, like, oh, what do we want to make for dinner tomorrow? We got to stop by the store and grab yada yada for making whatever dish that you're going to make. So it's the same kind of thing, but having those priorities situated is so huge. And then if you have children, you're setting yourself up, for a win, because you're going to see your kids succeed, and they're going to be excited to be able to make things in the kitchen with you. They've got their certain things that they like. Maybe they like to run the blender. Maybe they like to grade the carrots. Something. It's making it kind of fun. Those are priorities that should be shifted from, say, vegging out. It's so much fun to veg. We like, to be lazy, and we like convenience, but to prepare for our day and having our priorities situated is another key tip for sure. As well as, in the long run, say we're always like wringing out our energy to the very max. We haven't eaten anything. We're running off of coffee, no water. Maybe we're grabbing a soda after work, because like you can get a 64-ounce soda for 69 cents or some crazy thing. I don't even know what. It's set up. This system, I feel like, in a lot of ways, is set up for us to be unhealthy and sick. That way, we need to go to the doctor's offices. We need to say, my skin is really dry, I'm having eczema happen, or my thyroid is not functioning right, and I'm like super sluggish, I don't have the regular bowel movements. And then they're giving us a multitude of different medications, and that right there, in the long run, that's not setting us up. So, and that's where those priorities come in, I feel like, is if we're going to take an hour or less to be able to plan for our next day, that way we're not going to be, hopefully, going to be spending too much time in those doctor's offices.
Yeah, and on the note of priorities, I find that if you are doing something like a food journal, the best time to do the food journal is at night the day before. So most people, when they do a food journal, they get their journal and they're like, okay, so today I had this for breakfast, and I had this for lunch, and I had this for dinner. And then they're done. And then the next day, at bedtime, they're like, this is what I had for breakfast. This actually is just recording what you've done. But if you go at night and instead you say, tomorrow I want to have a banana date smoothie for breakfast, and then I'm going to have Lissa's French dressing for lunch, and I'm going to have chili for dinner. You're setting yourself up to have that for tomorrow. And then at the end of the day, you say, I had banana date smoothie, check, I had the French salad, and check, I had the chili. And then you write it down for the next day. So this sets you up for success. That's the proper way to do a food journal, is not to write what you had, because if you're not planning anything, of course you're going to just be winging it.
Right.
It's not going to be a priority. So that's what I wanted to say on the priority part.
I love it.
But tip number 4 would be affirmations. Affirmations are so important. Standing in power poses.
Yes.
Like get all strong
Stretch
and
it
powerful. Standing in the mirror and telling yourself positive things. You're beautiful. You're a raw vegan, or you're just a vegan. You're worth it. You don't eat junk food. You're strong enough. You can overcome your cravings. Plan for your day. Like plan exactly what you want to eat during the day. And stand strong in those. I have my 5-minute meditation. It's I am a raw vegan, and it really like sets the tone for the day. You listen to it and you're like, yeah, I really want to choose high hydrating foods.
I used that. I still use it at certain days. Like this last weekend when I was hanging out with all my homies, I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to tell myself every day that I'm a raw vegan. You know, because they had the whiskey, they had the small batch of bourbon, and I was like, man, maybe, you know, like one shot probably wouldn't like kill me. You know, it might feel good on my muscles after snowboarding all day. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to feel like total crap. So I am a raw vegan. I'm a raw vegan. I don't drink alcohol, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can use those affirmations to put yourself in that positive mindset. And when it comes to cravings, the most powerful moment is when you walk away.
Yeah.
When you actually decide, I will feel better if I eat a salad. I want to feel that pride in myself. I want to be proud of myself. Like, we don't want to be guilty or regretful or any of that. We want to be happy and proud that we made healthy decisions.
Totally.
So when you use those affirmations, when you are having a craving or anything like that, that can really help push you over. So that's another tip to staying raw, is to use those affirmations, retrain your habits, retrain your beliefs, and that will really, really help.
Huge. Definitely the daily affirmations.
Yeah.
So huge. And you know, all of these things are really, really simple things. Like when we're writing these out, we're like, oh, these are very, very simple. And these are things that, you know, as we implement each day, it becomes just a part of our whole life, and we don't even really have to think about it. It's just something you do. Like as you're there brushing your teeth in the morning or doing your routine in the bathroom, you could be pumping up yourself in your own head. You don't necessarily have to say it out loud. It could all just be inner thoughts. Of course, speaking it is more powerful. But those affirmations are so huge.
And yes, the affirmations, I just had a question, are available on my YouTube channel. You can also get it for $2 if you want to download it off my website, payhip.com/rawfoodromance. But it's for free on YouTube. Just search 5-minute meditation Lissa and it should come up. So yeah.
That's a great key.
Yeah.
So another one we have here is
number 5.
How we feel. So how I feel, and the mindset of prevention. So yes, definitely huge on keeping me raw. I like the way it makes me feel. Now I've kind of dabbled with, like, you know, some cooked food here and there within the last couple of years, because it's been almost 2 months. This next month will be 2 years raw, but I have eaten a couple of cooked vegan meals, and I can definitely feel the difference, as well as even just eating some, you know, like dehydrated crackers. Like I can feel the difference of how those foods make me feel. And I'm sure everybody, you know, out there knows that, you know, you eat certain foods and you feel a certain way. Some foods you feel amazing. So it's, of course, it'd be good to, you know, stick with those foods, like a melon. I always feel so good if I'm eating a lot of melons. And of course, those are coming in seasons, you know, and berries, as well as like a good healthy salad, like a nice big salad. But if I'm getting like higher fats in there, you know, maybe some dehydrated foods, like some dehydrated mangoes, you know, different kinds of ice creams, like I'll put, you know, almond butter in my ice cream, raw almond butter. I can definitely feel the difference, you know, as the fat intake is higher.
Yeah.
So that is another thing that keeps me raw, is I just want to feel awesome. I just want to feel like super pumped, full energy. I used to drink a lot of coffee, so I would have a quad shot, 4 shots of coffee over ice, and I would just slam it down, you know, because I didn't want the sugar and the cream necessarily, but I just wanted that buzz. I wanted that energy. And it's cool because I don't necessarily need to drink coffee anymore, because I've trained my body to say, hey, to the adrenal glands, wake up down there, we've got work to do, we need energy. Because if you're constantly drinking liquid cortisol, liquid stress, coffee, you know, which there's all kinds of different people who have different feelings on coffee. And if you drink coffee, I'm not like poo-pooing you or whatever, but necessarily, I just don't feel that great when I'm drinking coffee for my energy. Mm-hmm. The energy that I get is from eating enough calories and, you know, keeping myself positive. And when I'm not with Lissa and she's not with me, like, I have to listen to motivational stuff on the daily to keep myself pumped up here, because it's a dark world out there. There's a lot of like intense stuff that we're dealing with, all of us, on a daily basis. And we can hear about, you know, certain things that's happening within our, you know, our world management team, or, you know, whatever, a myriad of things. So, you know, keeping ourselves pumped up is super huge. But all of this, you know, all of these things are going to hopefully prevent me from not being able to live the life that I want to live, which my goal is, I want to be like the dude who inspired me. Not only did my mom inspire me to go this route, but meeting the guy, because I'm a man, I was like, you know, I met another dude who's 86, you know, and a shredder on the mountain, skiing like crazy. I want to be like that, you know, and I kind of feel like...
And he was raw for 40 years.
Yeah, he's raw vegan, 42 years, reversed his colorectal cancer. And that was pretty much enough for me to say, man, this guy is reversed something insane. And he's prevented himself from not being able to live the life that he really likes to live, which is getting out on the mountain and skiing. You know, he hikes, he bikes, and these kind of things I love to do. It's so fun to be out in nature and just like the wind in my hair. I love the wind in my face and these kind of things. So if I'm eating lots of pizza and drinking lots of, you know, coffee, you know, I'm not going to have, before, this is for me personally, I didn't have the energy that I have now. Like before, I would like stop at the gas station, I would get chicken on a stick, dipped it in barbecue sauce, I'd have like 2 Red Bulls, you know, get a quad shot of coffee on the way to go ride. I'm constantly like diluting my body with all of this fake energy. Yeah. I didn't have the good energy. So, you know, I want to feel good, and I want to prevent myself from being another one of the numbers, needing medications, needing, you know, breathing machines, you know, needing all the things that we need when we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I like to say, I don't want to live an average life eating the average foods and dying an average death.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to be part of those statistics. And so if I can prevent at least some of it, like we were watching a video today where it was Mike the vegan, and he was talking about how you know, people who might get sick on a raw vegan diet or vegan diet and then immediately blame the diet. But all of the science says, you know, you're just basically preventing for the most part these diseases. Right. Doesn't mean that we're completely immune or we're basically immortal. We're going to live to be 400. Yeah. We can only hope. Sure. But we're doing the best we can because this is how we feel amazing. So if you feel your best eating raw, why not? Yeah. Right? Definitely. If I feel my best having a big gigantic smoothie in the morning and having a massive salad for lunch and dinner, I'm going to do what I feel best doing, and that's what I feel best doing, and that's what I felt best doing for the last, like, since 2004, since I found out about it. So, So the last and final tip that we would have, this would be the 6th tip, is to find your fallback 5. And this is my, a very, very important tip, is to find 5 recipes that you absolutely love, that are raw or vegan or whatever, that you know that you enjoy, that you know that are fast to make, and that you always have ingredients on hand for. I'll use an example, is my French dressing. So the French dressing is 5 dates, some garlic, smoked paprika, lemon juice, and apple cider vinegar.
You carry it in your backpack.
And those 5 ingredients we have on hand all the time. We love it. It's super easy to make. You can just throw all of the vegetables into a bowl, pour that dressing on, and it's done. So if you can find 5...
Blender's the only part.
Yeah, the blender's the only part.
Still haven't figured out how to make that without a blender.
Right? But for the most part, it's super easy. So if you can find 5 recipes that you absolutely love, and you can like start to memorize and get really good at making them, you can make them after a really long day at work when you're stressed out. You can make them when you're bored. You can make them when you're having a craving because you know you're going to enjoy it. Yes. And you can find a lot of my recipes. These are dips and dressings.
Key. I just cracked the book open right before we started this live. Lissa was getting ready. We just got back. So we're like, all right, let's get ready. We'll do this live. And I'm like, you know what? I'm hungry. We're going to be possibly talking for a little while. I'm going to crack the book open. So I cracked the book open. I went to her pad thai dressing, which is one of my favorites. And I was like, you know what? I know this dressing by heart now. So I closed the book and I added a couple little extra things to it. I added some miso and some sriracha hot sauce. Now, so there we can talk about like a little bit of the things. This isn't on our list, but these are kind of the things that keep me in the raw world. Is I have these certain things that I do allow myself, and certain people might say, well, I'm gonna allow myself potatoes. Well, that's cool. You can allow yourself potatoes if that's your thing. For me personally, I like the spices, so I like sriracha. Sriracha might be, not considered raw. I like nutritional yeast. I like,
cashews.
I like cashews, and cashews, even if they're raw cashews, aren't necessarily considered like fully raw. But those are the kind of things, the spices, the onions, the garlic, these are the kind of things that keep me in this realm, because it tastes so good. Yeah. And so, man, I whooped up this salad like literally less than 10 minutes. A big old bowl of this salad. We each had a bowl. It was just romaine, cabbage, and some garlic sprouts. With that dressing all over it. And it's like we want to lick the bowl.
One of my favorite salads. So
that's
good.
Definitely, it's so huge to have the fallback. And the pad thai dressing out of that book, I literally use that book, you guys. I mean, I'm not kidding to you at all.
I know, it's all like
I use it at least twice a day, if not more than twice a day, because I'm like, there's so many I don't have them memorized, but I'm like, I kind of feel like something different. Let's like applesauce. I totally forgot about the applesauce,
totally.
Or whatever. It's nice to have something to tap into, but definitely that fallback is so huge.
Yeah, and then I have also, this is still on sale on Amazon. It's 29% off right now. It was 35% off a couple days ago.
35% off.
But this is my new meal plan. So there's 90 recipes in here. I'm sure you guys can find 5 that you can fall back on. So you can grab that. You can also get ebook versions of any of my books at payhip.com/rawfoodromance or off my website, rawfoodromance.com. So find those fallback 5s. Which book would you recommend if it's my first book? Honestly, if you aren't used to doing raw vegan and you want to learn like sort of the prep work, I would recommend one of the meal plans because it teaches you prep work. But if you're good with just having salads, this is my favorite one, the plant-based dips and dressings, because you can make any salad with any ingredients and just throw on a nice dressing, whatever you would like.
The way that I entered into this lifestyle was I bought her 30-day meal plan, her first 30-day meal plan, and it was so cool because exactly like it shows you the shopping list that you need for that particular day. So I just combined 3 days worth. So I went shopping and I bought groceries for the 3 days, and then I was able to find the stuff that I like out of that, because there's 90 recipes, you guys. There's 30 breakfasts, there's 30 lunches, there's 30 dinners. You're going to find something, and it's really easy to follow it, especially if you have a friend that you can have come with you, or your spouse or your partner or whatever. Maybe you guys are kids out there and it's like a brother and sister want to do this thing. It's so cool to be able to have recipes to where you don't have to really think, because we've been trained and brought up to, we know how to cook bacon and eggs. We know how to cook hash browns. We know how to cook all these kind of things. So when you don't come from the world of raw food, you're like, what do I do? Do I just grate a carrot? No, there's so many excellent things that we can use. And it is the bomb. Yeah, see, raw vegan, raw gypsy, not quite hippie. Trey, he says that dips and dressing book, the bomb, so good. It's my fallback book for sure.
Yeah, totally. Oh, you're just shaking the...
Oh, sorry.
It's all good.
Kicking the stand.
No worries. But now I'd like to open up to... So those are our 6 tips, and I'd like to open it up for Q&As. So if anyone's got any questions, we're going to be here to answer anything. Somebody earlier asked if your mom was raw vegan.
Okay.
My mom is high raw vegan, and your mom?
My mom is definitely high raw vegan as well. Yep, definitely. She's high raw vegan as well. She's got a pretty strict regimen that she follows. And that's kind of interesting because there's so many different ways to really live this lifestyle. And, you just kind of find what works for you, So let's see here. We have all your books. I recently had allergy sensitivity testing, and I can't have dates. Oh, this is huge. Okay, or bananas, among other things. Any ideas how to make your recipes without bananas or dates?
Well, instead of dates, I would probably use like dried apricots.
Dried apricots are really sweet. Yes.
You could use also raisins, but you have to make sure that the raisins there's no oil, because a lot of them have sunflower oil in them to prevent the caking and all of those other ingredients. Right. You can make your own raisins too, but that's a lot more work.
It's a little more work, yeah.
So yeah, raisins, apricots, those would probably be my first options
to kind of sweeten it
up.
Yeah. That is a tricky one, because I've got another friend who can't have dates at all, and a lot of the dressings in the books have dates for that natural sugar. So yeah, try the apricots.
Apricots. And as for bananas, just replace with other fruit. I mean, mangoes are going to be good.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, are you eating bananas that are really, really ripe? Or are they slightly, yellow with a little green on top, not very many brown spots? Because that might be messing too. I'm not sure. It's allergy.
It's an allergy sensitivity.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it could be something in the banana. But something I wanted to bring up about allergies and sensitivities is that a lot of allergies and sensitivities stem from trauma. So we'll use an example for an abused woman. So you have a woman who is constantly abused by her partner. Every time they come home from work, maybe they yell at her, maybe they're really angry, maybe they hit her. There could be so many other reasons, right? But she's constantly in a state of stress whenever her husband comes home or whatever. And they are in a state of stress when they're eating dinner. And the typical things that we eat are like chicken, wheat, soy, oils, and that kind of thing. And those are the standard things that show up on a test. So bananas and dates. Maybe you were eating a lot of bananas and dates while you went through a really traumatic time in your life. And your body, because bananas and dates aren't dangerous at all. Right. So it's interesting how one person can react and the other won't. Yeah. But we think that based on split personality tests, they were doing these tests in the 70s, where they had people with split personality or multiple personalities, and say one woman is Sasha and she's also Sophie. Sasha can eat peanuts no problem. Right. Sophie can eat peanuts and have anaphylactic shock, because Sophie went through a trauma as that personality, so she can't have peanuts. But the body itself doesn't react to them when she's Sasha.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we think that possibly a lot of allergies are due to just trauma. Yeah. We go through, like, there was one story where a little boy got severely allergic to dairy. Now, we shouldn't be eating dairy anyways, but just for the purpose of example, he watched his little dog get run over by a car in the summertime while he was eating an ice cream with his family. So he becomes allergic to dairy because the body doesn't understand where all the stress is coming from. It just
remembers that trauma that he went through while he was eating that certain thing. So the body thinks at that point, particular point in time, anything that was going on marks it as possibly a bad thing. Yeah. Yeah, and someone said that it could go away, so certain things can kind of like, I've had friends who, loved avocado, and then all of a sudden they couldn't eat avocado anymore. Same thing. I'm not sure what, I definitely could picture what was going on in his life was something really traumatic, and that could possibly be it. Yeah. And then Trey says over here, for that person asking about the bananas and dates, who was that? That
maple syrup,
Heidi, absolutely. Yeah, so maple syrup in lieu of dates, that's could be an option too. Yeah. The trauma connection is shifting my paradigm. Yes, I know, right? I mean, when I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense for so many different things, because you couldn't necessarily have avocados.
Yeah, for my story is, the reason why I know about all of this is because for 3 years while I started, like the first 3 years being a raw vegan, I wasn't eating avocado, because every time I would, it would be like eating a sleeping pill. Now, in my past, I lost a lot of money with my ex over the stock market, and I was eating an avocado every single day during that time of stress, and all I wanted to do was sleep. I hated my life, and it was just a really horrible time, but I was eating these avocados every single day. So my body was like, okay, well, what is causing the stress? Well, she's eating an avocado every day, so this must be causing the stress. So it becomes sensitive and it pushes it. It's like, I don't want avocado.
Right.
So when I started being raw, I was like, avocado! And I started eating avocados, and every single time it was like a sleeping pill. I would want to pass out. I was so tired. Right. So I was talking to my homeopath about it, and she was like, okay, well, we need to like clear this. So we did a lot of like metaphysical stuff and imagining and meditations and all of that. And I got to the point where I could eat an avocado in peace. Like, you have to like really be peaceful with the food to train your body to be like, well, there's no trauma, there's complete peace. But anyways, we went through a whole thing, and we figured out that it was based on that trauma. So like letting go of the
So
trauma,
amazing.
feeling safe with that food. And now I can eat avocados for the most part without high fat.
Right.
But yeah, I can eat them without getting super tired. So
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
How smart the body is. Mm-hmm. Always doing what it can to protect us.
yeah, totally. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's see here. What's your go-to crunchy snack? I miss chips so much going raw. I'm looking for the best purchased substitute and homemade option.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I would say kale chips.
Kale chips. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you get kale chip in you. And it's best to dehydrate the kale chips as opposed to using the oven on the lowest setting because it still really cooks that kale chip and you don't really get the same effect or taste.
Yeah, so kale chips would definitely be one.
I'm not sure of any companies out there because I don't really buy a lot of crackers, but I know there's some good companies out there that make some crackers. I know we want that salty, crunchy kind of fix, and that's where I definitely like the kale chip. We probably, I don't know, we make a lot of kale chips, so we keep kale chips on hand.
Yeah, the kids like them.
Yeah, they like to have them when they come home for a snack. You know, at lunchtime they'll come home for a snack. My oldest is senior, so he's driving. He likes to have those kale chips as well as at home after school. They like to munch on those, and it's cool because it's kale, right?
Yeah.
And it's dehydrated.
Yeah.
So it's good if they're drinking. You know, they're getting adequate fluids in them because, you know, it's going to suck some moisture out of their system being dehydrated.
Yeah, and you can make a lower fat version. I mean, they do kind of dry out and get like
Different. They're
staticky.
different,
They're like
yeah.
flaky. But I mean, if you don't want to do high fat, you can always use a low fat dressing. Again, use any of the dressings in here. You can use any of my dressings as kale chip
I've tried
sauce.
like half a dozen, and I found like 2 that I like really like, so I stick
Yeah.
with those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, any dressing is gonna make it good, especially.
And try them out because you never
chili,
know.
like a chili,
chili.
chili's like a sweet sauce or something. That'd be
And you can make your own crackers too with like pulp from your juicer. You can blend it in the Vitamix. You can just make your own.
Make your own
Yeah.
crackers. I know we've done some crackers, like even some corn chip. You know, corn chips are really easy. Just frozen organic corn, which, you know, is not necessarily raw, you know, or you could get corn on the cob, throw that in with
Yeah.
some flaxseed, grind up some flaxseed in your coffee grinder, and that kind of gels it together, and then add your seasoning. And if you're really kind of craving a little salty fix, it's not necessarily too bad to have a little pinch of salt here or there. You know, just, I mean, if you're not eating how we are being pumped with all these food out there that is so full of salt, a little pinch of some, you know, Himalayan salt or something like that, or some, you know, what's the other one? Not the Himalayan salt. Is it Greek? Not the Greek salt.
Oh, the
You know what I'm talking about? The white. I can't
the
remember.
black salt.
Not the black salt. The other one. I can't remember. It's slipping my mind right now.
Not sure.
It's not Mediterranean. I can't remember it. It slipped my mind.
There's like crystal salts. There's all kinds of different salts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you have a tip for me because my family isn't supportive?
That's really tough when your family's not supportive. I would say the affirmations and like listening to videos like Lissa's videos, I would watch and I'm like, okay, I'm a raw vegan. Like, you know, I don't really care what these other people are doing and what they're thinking. Like, we only have so many hours in the day and it's how we spend those hours. If you're really into hula hooping and nobody's really supporting you on hula hooping, but you envision I'm just going to be this most amazing hula hooper, you're going to do it. Like, you're going to practice that hula hooping. You're
Yeah.
going to watch other videos and people doing tricks with their hula hoop, and, you know, metaphorically speaking, right? So I would say that because it is really tough if you don't have someone supporting you.
It is really tough. And I would say for me, stand in your power and be the example. So you know that they're watching you. And if you are on point every single day doing it.
She had no support.
Yeah, I had no support.
And I wasn't like in the picture. This was years ago. She had no
Yeah.
support. She had no support from her spouse, who she was married to at the time. Family. And people are thinking that she's crazy. She's wacko. She's doing that. Are you still doing that fruitarian thing or that raw
Yeah.
vegan thing? She wrote her books and she like completely changed her entire life. Our minds are so powerful. You know, so definitely that is huge.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be the example for people, and I wanted to help people. So that was my motivation to stay raw, even though I didn't have support.
Because there's a bunch of us out here that are, you know, plant-based or even like high carb, you know, like, there's all the different labels, high carb, low fat, raw vegans, there's all these different, so there's people that you can tap into this system, you know, the social media system, and you can, you know, just kind of like give a little shout out, like you're looking for a little inspo, and people are, there's a lot of people that want to help.
Yeah,
You know?
totally. So we've got, how long did it take you before you finally went fully raw, and what was the shift for you? What mindset changes to get you to start and stay raw? So you can watch this whole video on our tips on how to stay raw, but for me, I discovered raw veganism in about 2004, and it took me 10 years of trying, like, off and on, because my, like I said, I didn't have the support. I would try, and then, family events or whatever, I would fall off. I would be eating too high fat. I was eating like handfuls of nuts and avocado every day, and mixing it with fruit and causing insulin issues. And then I was like, well, I guess raw vegan's not for me, because I couldn't do it. Plus I was calorie restricting, trying to lose weight. It was just a mess, and I would fall off. I think the longest I went was about 2 months on raw, but most of the time it was like 3 days and then I would stop. But so it took me a decade before I decided that I wanted to do low fat for once, because I was indoctrinated to believe that we needed high fat. Working in the natural health industry, that was pumped to us.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm just gonna try this stuff. It's not gonna kill me. Fully Raw Christina's been doing it forever at the time, right? I was like, I might as well try it.
That was your inspo right
Yeah,
there.
so I read the 80-10-10 diet by Doug Graham, and I took that information and applied it to my own life in my own way, because I eat raw differently than other people do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Kind of put your own spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
more salads.
every body is a little different, and some people, might act a little bit better if they have a little more garlic in their life than no garlic at all.
What if you happen to overdo it on the fats halfway through the day? Can you put your ratio back to 80-10-10 by the end of the day? That's a really good question. I try to save my overdoing it of fats to the end of the day, so that I'm eating them with greens. So if you're going to have like the raw cheesecake or the cheese loaf or whatever, cashews galore, I would save them to the salad point. But if you do happen to have it, and I mean, we've done it before, I would honestly try to keep dinner low glycemic. So lots of greens, a lower fat dressing. If you're going to do fruits, to do berries or apples or no fat dressing. Yeah. And keep it really, really low fat so that you can balance out for the day. The next day, I would probably stick to lower glycemic stuff, just so you don't, because if you have excess fats running through your system, sometimes if you're doing like tropical fruits, it can spike, like you can feel that a little bit. Right. So sticking to like the apples, pears, berries, greens realm can be on the lower glycemic range until the fat kind of dissipates. It takes a day or two, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I would do.
Just go no fat the next day, maybe.
Thank you guys. Lissa, your videos are helping me so much. 9 days raw. Congrats.
Awesome. Excellent
Cutting
work.
down the fat has been the hardest for me. I love my cashew dressings. And you can still have them. Just have them in smaller amounts.
Yeah, cashew dressings are so good.
Can 80-10-10 be 80% fat? No, that would be considered a keto, close to keto, and we disagree with keto diets. They are only sustainable short term. Sure, you can lose weight. Sure, you can mask diabetic symptoms, but the high fat is not what our bodies want.
Not the way we should be rolling.
No, definitely not. What do you think of eating 2 meals raw and 1 cooked? Now, if you want to do that, that's totally your prerogative. If you're going to do the cooked meal, though, like if it was me, I would have half the meal raw with a small amount of cooked. Like 1 little sweet potato or like a cup of rice, but the rest all raw. So you're eating most raw and not as much.
Kind of pushing that other stuff off your plate.
Just have a little bit, just to whatever, if you need that.
All right. Excellent. 19 days raw. Man.
19! Awesome!
That is amazing.
Good.
That is
so
amazing.
Good.
How you feeling? And then Trey says, not to sound cheesy, no pun intended. You two are inspo. Yeah, awesome.
Aw, thanks,
Keep
Trey.
your circle tight really helps me. Yes, definitely. Keeping your circle tight.
Yeah, and keeping your Instagram feed full of vegan stuff.
Yeah, don't get the other stuff in there. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, I really like this person. He's a friend of mine or she's a friend of mine, but they're always showing like a really delicious looking, plant-based, cooked, not healthy vegan meals. I can't have them in there, man. I'm like, all right, I just don't even want to see this. Not that I'm scrolling through all the time, but when I see that, like, whatever, it might cause something within myself to say, maybe that would.
Maybe I should do it.
Maybe
too.
that really looks good.
We're very influenced by our surroundings.
Or negative things in your feed. Your
it's hard. You got to clean up your feed.
Okay, so feeling bloated but good. Hey, you're doing awesome. 19 days epic. So now check this out. What we were talking about, which we say often, is it takes a while to have the body adapt to eating such high fibrous food. You're used to eating, a lot of cooked food. There's not a lot of fiber. You're cooking a lot of the water out of it. You're going to have some bloating. And literally like 2 years for me, 4 years for Lissa, and I feel even the people who've been 10 plus years still get a little bit of bloating depending on food combination,
stress, sitting for hours without moving.
Like if you're on a plane ride or a train ride or something, you're sitting a lot. It's going to be a little bit of part of it. A little gassy here or there, but definitely not a reason to fall off. It's kind of interesting because we've watched a few videos about some of the other influencers that are, going back to eating animal products from being vegan, and vegan being a lifestyle choice, ethical choice, not necessarily vegetarian where you don't want to eat the dead animals, but you still eat cheeses and stuff. But when you kick out and have something happen, say you're raw and you're having something happen like the bloating, you could kind of like mess with yourself mentally and think, I don't think this is for me because I've been bloated. I'm bloated every single day, and then you stop. And so what's happening is you've got gut bacteria, gut flora, and you're not necessarily feeding when you're eating high cooked food, lots of cooked foods, even if they are plant-based. You're not feeding those bacteria, those soldiers in there that can break down that fibrous raw food. So the more raw food you feed yourself, you're starting to kind of like not necessarily kill off the other bacteria, but they're like, hey, we're out of here because there's not very much work for us to do, and you're going to build the other guys that are going to help break down that fibrous food.
And it takes time. So
Definitely
you're doing great. You're doing
Excellent
great.
job. Excellent job.
Everybody loves these lives. They want us to do more. And this one, you giggle more when you're with him. I'm just
it's way more fun.
So
it's way more fun.
Insanely happy with him.
I don't do like hardly anything. I don't do any lives when I'm by myself. Like I don't story all the time. Like I don't post a lot. Like she really helps inspire me to stay more regular and on point with things. That's for sure.
I'm glad I do. Do you guys have any tips on getting kids raw vegan?
That's a good thing. So now we were saying earlier, go ahead. What do you got?
Oh, I was going to say get them involved.
Yes,
like get them to switch the... We
Get
are the same.
Get them in the kitchen.
Get them in the kitchen.
Bring them to the store. Make it fun. Like tell them. All right, let's picture. We're gonna make a delicious smoothie. And we're gonna also have some. A really good salad. What kind of vegetables do you want in your salad? What kind of fruit do you want in your smoothie? Make it fun. Have them open the door to the freezer and pick out the frozen fruit, even though the frozen fruit isn't necessarily considered completely raw, right?
Unless you freeze it yourself.
It yourself. But that shouldn't stop you. You should just get that frozen fruit. Go to Costco or whatever. Get the organic, fruits. It's really cheap, and make it fun for them. Definitely. The more fun you make it for them, let them push the buttons.
Yeah, let them turn on the Vitamix. Let them scoop it out.
Right.
And also have them plan the meals. Like offer them maybe 2 or 3 different ideas and say, what do you want to help me make tonight?
Or have them pick out pictures. Like, what's your favorite? And then if their favorite's macaroni and cheese, okay, how can we make a macaroni and cheese meal that's healthy? It's going to taste different because if you've had Kraft macaroni and cheese when you're a kid, boom, you're like, you have, chemicals within you that is going to know that if you're eating zoodles with a cheesy sauce, it's not going to be anything near the real Kraft macaroni and cheese. But I think definitely making it fun is key.
Yeah, that's key.
So key.
That's key. And then finding foods that they like. If they like oranges, let them eat oranges.
And the colors is so good.
This is a good one. I really want to answer this one.
Okay, so do we only need to focus on percents, or do we need to take into consideration grams? I track in Chronometer, and carb consumption was almost 300, and I started to get really nervous coming from the IC.
Not sure what that means,
LC.
but...
This is huge.
Yeah, the thing is, like I was talking about earlier, is that if you're eating 1,200 calories a day, 10% of that is only 13 grams of fat. So you don't really necessarily want to look at grams because 10% is different depending on how many calories you're eating a day. So 10% of 3,000 calories is 300 calories from fat, or I think it's 35 grams.
Yeah,
so you're eating more fat at 10% if you eat more calories.
Yeah.
So that's how you can kind of tell the difference between that. And your carbs is fine.
Low carb, okay.
Yeah, coming from low carb. Okay, Thank you for that. Yeah, if you're eating 300 grams of carbs and they're coming from fruits and vegetables, I would say you're totally fine.
You're golden.
As long as you stay on the 10% fat range, in around there, give or take, you're fine. I eat Some days I think it's like 700 grams of carbs a day.
I did a chronometer today, and I think it was up towards that too.
Yeah.
You know, super, super high carb, and it was really fascinating because it's like I'm getting an amazing amount of calcium, an amazing amount of iron. I'm getting, you know, almost double of what I need, the recommended daily amount as a man for protein.
Yeah, I know,
beautiful.
it's awesome. So when you're coming from low carb, you're eating high fat. Sorry, I don't want to mess you. You're eating high fat. You are basically forced to limit your carbs down.
Yeah.
That's the only way keto works. If you're eating high fat, you are forced to limit your carbs. And that's why they limit them to 20 to 50 grams a day. But if you eat low fat, you can eat all the carbs that you feel satiated to eat. Like you can eat as many as you want.
And this is another really important thing is understanding, you know, the two spectrums of having your body being ketosis as opposed to being fueled properly by what its desired fuel source is, which is the glycogen from the carbohydrates. Our bodies thrive on that. That's what we burn. We burn the energy we burn is burning from carbohydrates. So when you're cutting off that supply of carbohydrates, that's also not going to be necessarily sustainable over time. I did keto before I was vegan, before I was plant-based, for about 9 months, and I was really strict with it, and I lost a lot of weight. I lost almost 60 pounds. I was exercising like crazy, but I was also taking a lot of supplements, and I had really, really horrible, you know, bowel movements.
And your arm would fall asleep.
My oxygenation, like literally if my arm was bent like this for a while, just like laying in bed, my hand would go to sleep. So I don't know. I mean, everybody has their own, you know, thing, and maybe some people are living like, you know, keto for a long time. I was doing it because I wanted to be as healthy as I could, and then I started to learn like, whoa, actually, I think I'm doing myself a way huger disservice being keto. And then, you know, at that time, my mom was healing herself, you know, with a raw food diet. And I met that guy 8 months later. It took 8 months. I already watched my mom heal herself, and it still took me 8 months to adopt that raw lifestyle. It's really tricky.
It is tricky.
To go, you know, from eating cooked food your entire life to going, wait. You don't eat any cooked food? Nothing? No cooked food? It's a whole, man, it's a different mindset for sure. But it is totally possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, we say we're one of the only species, we are the only species actually that cooks their food. We are the only species. Now some could argue, oh, that's, you know, why we're so smart and that's why our brains are big or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, there's all these different things. I just want to feel good, and I don't want to be sick.
Exactly. So, another more questions. Do you take probiotics? I do sometimes. I'll do around a bottle of them. I also ferment. We eat ferments like kimchi and stuff like that. So that's good.
Definitely.
This one here's a good question. I was told today that being vegan or raw vegan is the most unhealthy lifestyle out there, and I will have to take a bunch of supplements to feel well. Completely not true. The top researched diets are for reversing heart disease. The number one diet is a vegan diet. So I mean, if it's going to reverse heart disease,
literally, and there's so much information and scientific, you know, data backing that and showing you actual pictures. And, you know, coming from the cardiac unit, like, I'm not a nurse, but I did see a lot of things, and I did see people's, you know, lab work, you know, when they went plant-based, man, that really turned their whole scene around. Yeah.
And also, it depends on what kind of a vegan or a raw vegan diet you're eating. If you're eating a raw vegan diet with lots of dehydrated foods and high fat and not enough calories, then you're going to lack nutrients, you're going to lack energy, you're going to feel crappy. If you're eating a junk food vegan diet, or you're doing a lot of cheat days or cheat meals or whatever just because it's vegan, does not mean it's healthy. So you can be an unhealthy meat eater omnivore with who eats vegetables. You can also be an unhealthy junk food vegan, or even if you're just eating healthy 3 or 4 days a week, and then on the weekends you're eating whatever, you're still like giving yourself a disservice. You're not giving yourself the best potential, like self-love.
Because like if we were to pick a number between 1 and 10, and 10 being the best you could feel, 1 being the worst you could feel, or maybe we should say 1, you know, because 1's always the number best, or, you know, where do we want to be on that scale? You know, like probably not very many people are like, that's cool, I'm good with a 6, you know, I'm good with a 7 actually. And if you are, then that's cool, because everybody has their own thing, everybody's here on their own journey. Definitely. I know that I've personally, I want to be a 10, man. And I'm not a 10 yet. Like, I'm still trying to fine tune certain things. You know, I'm working on it. I definitely need to incorporate more exercise, more yoga, which is good stretching. That's what yoga is. It's you know, the way that I picture it, it's mind-body connection. You're in your body and you're moving your body. This is a good one here too. I fail at maintaining raw during the winter. End up eating cooked veggie meals from November through February. What are your tips through raw in the winter time?
Well, I have some of my top tips because I live in the
She
frozen
lives in the tundra. It's like 20 below zero out there or something ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's cold. But my top tips are don't eat things right out of the fridge. So most of my produce stays on the counter, like cucumbers, tomatoes, bell peppers.
Lettuce, of course, is in the fridge.
Yeah.
And now another tip for the lettuce is you can rinse your lettuce in kind of like warmer water. Not like hot water, but it kind of like, you know, whatever. It's not going to be a hot salad.
Yeah, it brings the temperature back a little bit.
It just balances a little bit.
So we want to make sure that we're not eating things out of the fridge because that will make us colder. And also using the Vitamix or the dehydrator to warm up meals,
to
or
make
bowls,
soups,
plates, and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, if you warm up your plate in the dehydrator and you also have, say, like, you know, we do like the mushroom marinara, I heat up my zoodles in the dehydrator, and then the marinara is hot. Like, it's literally, if you know, do it too long in the Vitamix, you'll actually cook it. That whole meal it's a warm meal. I mean, I consider it a hot meal realistically.
Yeah, and it's not hot to the tongue. It's just warm. It's nice. It's like sun warmed, really. Yeah. That's a temperature we want.
Like also some warm, you know, lemon water or something like that. You know, some lemon ginger water teas, herbal teas or something, just to kind of warm the system up if you're really craving that. But another thing too is eating enough. If you're not eating enough, man, you're gonna be cold. Your body's
your metabolism down regulates, so you're actually you're not burning as many calories as you would because your body is like, okay, we're gonna hibernate now. Yeah, so it's really hard. And I have another book. It's the Have a Winter Raw Food Romance, which has a lot of winter. It's over there somewhere.
It's a good book too.
Yeah, and a lot of spices. So think of like Thanksgiving spices. We've got rosemary, sage, thyme, garlic, cardamom, cinnamon, and all of those like warming fall spices because they stimulate circulation and they can help you stay warm.
Yeah, and do wall headstands if you do not like, you know, yogi and you don't
100 squats.
Headstands.
Do that.
Yeah, do some exercise in between folding laundry or something, like do some jumping jacks, you know, do some planks, or even do some wall handstands, you know, and that's really going to help regulate your blood pressure. You're getting upside down every single day. That's a key thing. And I need to take my own advice because I don't do this on a daily basis.
Yeah,
but
I know we all have things to improve on for sure.
It's a non-stop journey forever.
Is the French dressing good with just lemon? If you don't do well with apple cider vinegar, 100%. You can totally do it with just lemon juice.
I do it with just lemon juice. I don't do it with the apple cider vinegar, and I also make her sour cream without the apple cider vinegar too. I just use lemon. I just use a little extra lemon. So Peas, Love, and Joy says, oh, good, because I really like your French dressings, and
I can't eat all those dates.
I know.
Can I eat all those dates? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Do you guys ever eat papaya seeds for parasite cleansing, or ever wonder if you have any inside of you, what to eat to cleanse them? Yeah. I am sort of on the fence with the whole parasite thing. I believe that we can have them for sure, but I don't do the papaya seeds, and I don't do cleanses because I just feel like my body is dealing with it on its own because I'm eating so clean all the time. That said, definitely you can do a parasite cleanse if you feel like that's something that you might need.
Now, I definitely picture we have parasites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeast, mold, fungus, candida, body fat, actual worms. These are all living within us, and they thrive by being fed. And so there's where the cravings are coming from. You see that donut that they brought in because it's Janine's birthday over there. Those parasites, I feel like, are neurologically connected to us saying, yo, man, you've eaten clean all week long. Just go get that donut. You've done good. That's the parasite. In my mind, that's the parasite talking. Yeah. And so I really think that, you know, it's a good thing to take that into consideration. But that being said, if you cut off the parasite's food supply, boom, the parasite has no other way besides going, yo, we gotta bounce, man. There's no food coming in here. You know, like, yo, homies, let's roll. You know, and then they're out. Like, you will pass them. That's just how I
agree too. Like, I find that I didn't need to do any kind of a parasite thing or any of that.
I didn't do a cleanse either.
Yeah,
but if we all have parasites. If you've eaten fish, if you've eaten pork, if you've eaten steak, if you've eaten any of these kind of foods,
especially raw,
it doesn't even matter whether they're cooked or not. You have parasites. We have them, and thank the heavens that designed us that we do have them, because we would be so up the creek without a paddle if we didn't have these parasites in us to help clean all of the dead matter that we're putting in, because these parasites, they feed and they thrive off of dead matter. They sit at the cardiac sphincter right below the stomach, and they're the first ones getting fed, you guys. They eat before we eat.
Yeah,
so if you cut off their food supply, which the best way to cut off their food supply is to go back to nature's way and eliminate all cooked foods, they have no choice. They've got nothing to eat.
They like the processed stuff.
They like the processed, and they like the dead food. The dead food being the cooked food. This is the mindset that I have. Some may disagree, but I feel that the cooked food, literally there's no life in that food at all.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
very, very small amount of micronutrients you might be getting from these cooked foods. They're satiating, and we're definitely getting a dopamine release, so we feel amazing. We just had a whole plate of potatoes. I know Lissa and I would probably feel amazing for for right here. It would feel
this
amazing.
area
And then
right
after
here.
that, we would like look at each other. Do you feel good? Yeah, you feel good. An hour later, be like, oh my god.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone's going to be different, and
Yeah.
you're going to play around with whatever
Totally.
you feel best at. And we like to be raw, so that's why we're raw. Is one avocado a day too much fat? Asking for a friend. It is if you're eating very low calorie. I like to stick to half an avocado a day, and I share it with Nate. So what you could do is also cut your avocado in half, use half for your salad, and make like a guacamole or like a creamy thing with the other half, and save it for tomorrow.
Good.
If you want to split that up.
I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, here, peas, love, and joy. Do you got something over there?
got
Appreciate
lots.
all the YouTube and IG stuff you guys do. That's excellent. Appreciate the Q&A because this stems from the literature. Special thank to you, Lissa. All right. And okay, what do you got?
I got eating raw. Do you guys ever get sick?
Well, you know, to tell you the truth, I have yet to be sick since going raw, and I didn't really get sick a lot before I was raw, but I did get sick. The last time that I was really, really sick with the flu was 2012, January 2012, and that was actually when I started to kind of really geek out laying in bed for a week on YouTube's on the healthiest people and the healthiest diets, right? But man, this lifestyle, living a raw food lifestyle, is not a end all, be all, heal all, like immune to everything. Totally can get sick still.
Yeah.
Stress on your body.
Stress, like, yeah, and I haven't been sick in 4.5 years, except for there was one time I did a 3-day dry fast, which I won't be doing again. Just to do it for the whole point was just for the experience of
giggles,
it. Yeah. I got sick after I did that. And I was, I had come off doing a lot of work, and I had just come back from visiting Nate, so it was lots of travel in there, lots of work that happened.
Our
and
bodies
then I was
can be depleted,
no.
even if we're eating like super dialed, like our whole system is super dialed because we're eating everything, like chronometer is showing us that we're getting everything we need. Those environmental stresses still can take a toll on us for sure. And we're not immune to different viruses and stuff that are surrounding us all the time. I mean, we live in a world that we're surrounded by it all the time. The best thing, of course, is to have the strongest immune system, and that's another reason why we want to live this way, is because we want a strong immune system. We want to be able to fly on a plane to another country and go to another country and walk around that other country, sit in the dirt, and not have to worry about like, oh my gosh, like we're sick,
Yeah.
And I have friends and family members that get sick. Like, I'm telling you, every other month they're sick.
Yeah,
But of
I
course,
used to be sick every 2 months.
Of course, yeah, they're
before I
treating
went raw.
themselves completely, they're not like holding themselves in high regards. So now check this out. This is a really good one here. Thanks for all what you're doing. Hey, we love you guys. Thank you. And do we take B12? Heck yes. We take B12.
Definitely. We take B12, vitamin D. We like to take vitamin K2 and sometimes iodine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Iodine, very, very important.
Yeah.
Very,
I
very
don't do it every day, but I do
Not
make
every
sure
day,
I get
but
it.
it's super important, you guys. Iodine, however you want to say it, is super important. B12 is super important. Let's talk a little bit about B12. Let's touch on it just for a sec.
Go
Go
for
ahead.
it.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Well,
good.
B12 is actually, B12 and vitamin D are actually environmental vitamins. So we think as a society, we've got 2 minutes remaining. So if you guys want to come back
That's right.
onto the live, we will restart it again after 2 minutes. Actually, we should just restart it now.
Sure.
So,
How do you do that?
Oh my gosh, we've got so many comments.
Oh, so sorry, you guys.
Okay, you guys, if we didn't answer your question, come back Right now, we're just going to stop this live
Okay.
feed and we will restart. So please
Hot salad.
type your answer, your questions in. Like, what do you think of soy? Do you use a distiller? Miso paste? Like, you guys have so many questions here
I'm so
that we
sorry,
weren't able
guys.
to get to.
Yep.
But rewrite them. If you want us to answer them, we will be right back in like 30 seconds.
Okay, here we
All
go.
right?
Here we go. And
All right.